reverb here on the speaker,
be
which
okay.
is interesting. Do I have to do that thing about it's recorded and their
Yes.
lives are at risk if they don't understand that they're being,
Well, Jess did not provide that for us tonight.
well, you guys know the thing that says we're being recorded and thus and so on and so forth and whatever, and, right? Everybody's good with it. Oh, hello, Cheryl. Well, isn't that interesting?
You offended her.
Apparently I did. I said hello to Cheryl and she got up and left.
She doesn't want to be recorded.
Oh, okay. I think our
Too
first,
bright.
oh, who's too bright?
The light behind me was too bright.
Oh, okay. So I guess the first thing is the minutes from our last meeting. Do we have a motion on these minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second. Peggy, second. All in favor? Okay.
Abstain. No,
Then one abstention.
March, one abstention.
One
I
abstention.
abstain.
Two
You
abstentions.
know, I
Two abstentions.
I should abstain too.
Yes.
Yeah, you should abstain
Sorry.
too.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Gee.
I abstained.
We got a bunch of abstentions.
Yeah, you're
Peggy
right.
and I voted for it.
Peggy,
I was
Dave,
I can't, I wasn't here.
Were you there, Jen?
Yep.
Jen was here.
Jen voted for it.
Jenna,
Okay.
Dave, is it?
No, I made the motion, but I couldn't vote.
Okay.
Technically, we can.
Got that note taker? Okay, let's. I don't.
The affirmative.
So Mr. Wiggler abstained.
Who's our note taker?
Chamberlain, Colleen and I are trying to double team it here.
Oh, okay.
Deb Chamberlain abstained.
Dave abstained,
I
I
abstained.
abstained.
Yeah.
I second.
Yeah,
Peggy
Peggy
second.
second.
And
Anyway, they passed.
And Mark Wiggler. Okay.
We abstained.
School facilities use and regulations. Now, isn't this interesting? I was wondering, Cheryl, because when I saw that you were not here, I was wondering if that was a protest over what we're going to have or what. But anyway, who's going to present this?
Well, Cheryl is going to speak to it. Cheryl and I are going to sort of both speak to it. At the last meeting, we had further discussion about allowing general public use of the Quabbin buildings. And you asked us to go back and draft some language
That you both agreed on.
that, well, we agreed that this is the best that we can do in drafting language. I think we do not, neither of us actually recommend moving forward with this. And we can, give you further details as to why, but we did draft it for your consideration because it is what you had asked us to do. So, and I'm going to let Cheryl describe it. I can put it on the screen for anyone who does not have a copy, if you would like it.
Does anybody not have a copy? I don't think it needs to go on the screen now.
Okay. So Cheryl, would you like to speak to your changes that you proposed or that you made?
Sure. I apologize, Dr. Ellen, that I'm not there tonight, but I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today.
That's okay.
So on the regulations themselves, which are titled School Facility Use Regulations, Application Process and Contract, on page 2, under our general guidelines for use, what we presented a number of months ago was a certificate of insurance. It was the will of the committee to allow the general public to use our buildings without that requirement. So I left it there as it doesn't pertain to other groups, rental categories, but I added in red, rental group category, Group D exempt from this requirement. As we spoke briefly at our last meeting, under the rental group categories, I've added a Group D, which says general public use, defined as residents of QRSD communities. That means at least one resident needs to be on site as the person that's asked to use the building or applied to use the building. On page 3, we had a chart which was the building use fee by group designation, and there I've added the group D, which do not need to rent the space in the building. The only group that would need to rent the space would be Group C, which is defined as for-profit camps, events, and businesses, not sponsored by QRSD. The reason for the grouping is really for scheduling use and determining the priority usage of the building. Going further, I think the copies that were handed out are in red as well. Under personnel fees, all groups, regardless if your group defined as group A, B, C, or D, need to pay for custodial time if that building is alarmed and needs to be a security check and the building alarmed. So what I've done there, personnel fees to be paid regardless of group category unless otherwise noted below, because we did say if people were renting Hardwick or New Braintree, they may choose to take responsibility for the building and not pay for custodial staff to come back and lock the building. So there's no change to that. The last change on the policy regulations themselves are on page 5, where I've added in under number 1, scheduling, general public use in red. So they would come after school activities, official school committee or town public meetings, after the Quabbin youth sports and playground activities, after local nonprofit or non-commercial organizations, after metropolitan, civic, educational, social, and religious organizations, after for-profit activities, and then there would be general public use. Are there any questions on that particular document?
No?
What can you explain the liability that we're opening ourselves to again? Can we discuss that with this group D?
Well, the other groups that are required to have a certificate of insurance are required by our policy to name us as an additional insured. Therefore, if there were some type of accident, not only would they have insurance protection, but their policy covers the district as well. As we know, usually when something happens, everybody involved gets brought to court and sued. But in this particular case where we're requiring a certificate of insurance, they would have to pay any fees that the district would incur. I did inquire and I reported at the last meeting that there's no such rider on our current general liability insurance for something like this. What our insurance agent told me was if we were found to be liable, then we may end up in a lawsuit. But I just want to tell you about some activities that are happening right now. I think I reported out at the last budget meeting that our general liability insurance went up considerably. And that's because we have 2 outstanding cases regarding students, which we are covered for. But our policy premium is going up for this year, effective March 1st, without the identification of whether we're liable or not, whether we're at fault or not. And so this just opens that door up a little wider in us paying insurance premiums that are higher if something happens in our building, that's all. I just think that's a risk we don't want to take.
So you said that one person would need to be a resident to be able to use the building under this?
Well, I don't think we want to open our buildings up from someone who isn't a taxpayer in one of our
No.
towns. That's
No.
my thought process there.
That's the only criteria. That one member of the group be a resident. That is the only criteria that this group would fall under?
That's how it's currently written.
Thank you.
Any other committee questions?
Yeah, Dr. Allen, I'm trying to visualize it if, say, I wanted to bring a group in to play basketball at Ruggles Lane at a time when the building was not occupied. it would be locked? Would there be a custodian there to open it up? That sort of thing? Or
Well,
it just,
there
if
is
it was
until
a
what, about
community
10
group?
10 or 11?
During the weekdays, there are usually custodians there till about 10 PM on a weekday.
But on a weekend, would this be available? If we went with this policy, would this be available to people on a weekend when there isn't anyone there? I'm trying to figure out
You
who,
have to pay the fee.
Not the way that the way that it's currently written, I need to bring it up on my screen, so I apologize, but the way that the regulations are currently written is there is no charge to anyone for custodial staff during the school year, during the school week, and up to 9 PM. No organization shall be allowed to remain in the buildings after 9:30 PM. So that's whether it's on the weekend or not, 9:30 PM. During school breaks, that time may change. And we are saying that users of this is number 4 under personnel fees, all users of Quabbin Regional Middle High School, Ruggles Lane School, Hubbardston Center School, or Oakham Center School shall be required to pay the custodial fee and overhead fee for any use beyond 9 PM Monday through Friday and any time on Saturday, Sunday, or holidays. This language was from the beginning when this was presented months ago. That is not being changed just to add this group.
Yeah, and I think that's for profit groups.
That's for anybody.
All
This is
users. All
for
users.
anybody.
Number 4 is all
Yep.
users.
On
Users.
page 3, Dr. Allen, number 4.
Oh, okay. But the fee is just for for-profit groups, as I understand this.
The
No.
regular use of the building.
If I could back up. The fee for renting space to use in our building is only for for-profit groups. But all groups are required to pay a custodial fee at the middle high school, Ruggles Lane, Hubbardston, and Oakham, because a custodian is required to do a security check and alarm those buildings. When we first brought this to the table, there was a request that not happen at New Braintree or Hardwick, where someone could be held responsible for opening the building, doing a security check, and making sure all the doors and windows were locked before they left. That was discussed many months ago, that in those 2 schools, the lead person putting in the application would say that they are responsible for securing the building when they leave and securing the building while they're there. Those items are not being changed because of adding this category of group of people.
Okay. Any other committee member?
Yeah, so right now, you know, everybody, if you want to use something, you have to do the application. So if Dave wanted to bring in somebody for a Saturday, whatever, Friday night, he couldn't run around saying, oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow morning, because it's impractical to do that. You'll need a few days' time to say, fine, let me get the application, fill out the stuff, and verify that, yes, I'm going to be there, or I'm
And
the
there's
person.
no overlap.
I'm the person responsible. So that's one thing. Number 2, someplace it should be, I presume, because the way, at least I've worked it over the years, is that the principal is the person who you ask or you contact to say, gee, we'd like to use it Saturday morning. Is it available? And can we do it? I don't think we have that anywhere. I know for the middle high school, it might be the AD. I'm not sure what that tension is with the middle high school. If the AD kind of has that to say, yeah, I know the gym's going to be empty Saturday or Sunday, so you guys can use it. Or the AD has to go to the principal and say, okay, these kids asked me, I say it's okay, so I think that has to be defined someplace.
I believe it is defined. It was defined very early on that the Buildings and Grounds Department is taking this over. That was determined when we first started writing this new procedure. It's no longer the building principals, it's the Building and Grounds administrative team.
And where is that memorialized?
Honestly, Lee, I don't remember. I'd have to scroll.
We did
through
talk
them.
about it.
All right,
did.
it's right, it's
I'm
right.
not saying we're
it's
gonna
right
talk about
there.
it.
I know.
But it has to be someplace.
It is,
No.
excuse
The
me,
application process.
it's on page 2 of this document. The last paragraph under philosophy, The Building and Grounds Office serves as the school committee's representative in processing application, approving use, and enforcing regulations. That's been there since the beginning.
Right in the middle.
Okay, I see it. Yep.
So that's Kevin Clark.
Kevin
And-
Clark and Elaine Karen, his assistant.
So, okay, so to follow, once again, getting to the practicality of it, so would they be able to easily get hold of Kevin Clark? I mean, I'm just looking at if people want to use it, because we're saying this is for the community. We want to open, we want to let people use this if we go for it. I'm just trying to think of impediments or getting rid of impediments for somebody to say, hey, I'd like to do this. How do I do it? Are they going to end up?
How you do it is you go to the website, you go to our website, and you file an application.
Could we put that in there, Cheryl? I mean, you have in here very clearly what needs to be done. I think now being raised is, how does one do this? And I think just saying, go to our website and file an application would be very helpful. If we adopt this.
I would assume if someone contacts a principal or Jess, that they would give them the process.
Yes.
Go,
We could skip that step if we just put it in here, couldn't we?
I don't know if they would have this.
Well, it'll be on the website. That's where people go,
Yeah.
right?
We can certainly put the link to the part of the website.
That's what I'm
document.
suggesting. I think based on the issue that Lee's bringing up, I think it doesn't hurt us. It's not a problem. It's easily done. And I think it's potentially helpful.
But also having conversations with the principals so that they're aware of the process, right?
Yeah.
I assume that's already done, but
Yeah, we have been handling the use of the facilities this way since the initial approval. Yeah, this is a change to the, a proposed change to what was approved earlier this year.
Okay, now, as I understand it, the administration does not recommend this. You recommend against this. Is that correct?
Well, we are, I think, I'm concerned, and I think Cheryl would agree, that this opens us up to additional liability. We do not have any way of, if we do this, we have to be equitable. So if we have a request from a community member, which we have had, to utilize the stage in the auditorium for a rehearsal for a dance to be performed at an upcoming wedding, we have to approve that. If we have a request to use these are extreme, but some of these have happened. Request to use a part of our facility for a family party. How do we make a judgment where that this is an appropriate use of our facility and that is not an appropriate use of our facility? It's tricky. And I just think if we say no to somebody and we say yes to another person, it's not that we don't want people to utilize the building, but there are certain things that
What would you
shouldn't
like
take
to do,
place in our
Sheila?
building.
What would you like to do? Yeah, I think you know the wishes of the community. The wishes of the committee.
Again, this is not my decision. My recommendation is that if you move forward with this, you are opening up the district to additional liability.
Well, that's not your recommendation, that's your fear.
That's my fear. So I would
We are,
recommend against it.
there is no insurance to protect that group.
Yes.
So yes, we are
Well,
opening.
it's still in here is the $1 million for one of the A, B, C, Ds.
No.
But not for this
No,
group.
A, B, and C.
But not.
Not this
not
group.
D.
This group has no insurance.
A, B, and C still have to provide their certificate of insurance.
Yes.
This is Group D.
Okay.
And if I could mention one other incident that we had, prior to us putting the other policy, the policy that was currently in place, we had a person that was using our building to run a sewing group. They all walked in with their sewing machines and plugged in their machines and used the district's electricity for a couple of hours. Not only do we have the liability issue, which is my biggest concern, as I think it is the superintendent's, but also the use of district resources. The electricity that is being used. Like she said, if we get a group that wants to come in and use our building for that sort of thing again, it's adding cost to our district. That's just another thing that could happen.
Dave?
When we first started discussing this back in, I think, December, I thought about it a lot, and a couple of things. On a very basic level, we have the CEO and CFO of our organization saying that this is a risk that they would rather not the organization take. And I really have to respect that. And the second thought I had, and if the world was full of Lee Willanens, we wouldn't have to lock our household doors. You know, if somebody said to Lee, we got to wash the floor in the gym after you use it, Lee would do it and his group would do it. But I think with what Sheila just said in terms of what I think is appropriate use, and what Deb thinks is appropriate use, or someone else says, well, can't we do this? I think it would be really hard to be discriminating and think about how the facility is going to be used, what we think is appropriate use, a basketball game, whatever, pickleball game, one thing, but these other things that come up. And I think I'm going to side with Sheila and Cheryl and just say that I can't support this as much as I'd like to. I can't support it.
Well, until we get something that we get the administration, and at this point, that's Sheila and Cheryl, to agree to and say it's okay, I don't think we can put this forward to the full school committee. In other words, I'm saying, yes, I agree with you. And that's kind of the way I'm feeling. I assume other committee members.
I'm not in support of this as it's written.
No, we need to get, because I thought that you had an idea of what would be okay. And Cheryl disagreed with that. And what I was asking was, could you come to an agreement and present something to us that you both could agree was appropriate and okay for our district? And I think you're telling me you're still struggling with that this isn't it.
I think that I think that that Cheryl and I have learned more from talking with Cheryl and have a better understanding of the risk that this puts the district at. So I would say that Cheryl has helped me to better understand and sort of change my position on this relative to, I mean, I don't see any other solution to this other than, you know, certainly making it available to the general public, but requiring some level of insurance coverage. I don't see any other way to
And the sum level
mitigate
is
that
defined
risk.
as $1 million.
Well, that's what we're expecting of everyone else. I mean, I guess we could explore whether some lower level of insurance would be appropriate.
Well, let me ask a question. There's a few insurance agencies in town. Could we go to them and say, look, here's the deal here. They have to have $1 million of insurance. Can you guys put together a little package for, say, $50 or something per time or something of that ilk, where this organization could buy this thing to protect themselves and protect the school district for X, whatever X is each time, or for a period of times or something? Would that be a reasonable thing to do?
Well, Dr. Allen, I did go to our insurance agent, the one that covers us, and their recommendation is to not open it up to the general public.
Well,
I don't even know how the general public could get, Lee, I don't know how you could walk into your insurance agent and say, I want a insurance policy so I can play basketball in a public building. I don't know how you're gonna get that.
Insurers can cover anything they want as long as they're going to make some money out of it in the long run, or maybe even the short run. So I would agree with you there. That doesn't mean that it's not doable someplace, but I sure don't know where it would be doable.
well, that's why I'm saying, if we could find an insurer that would put together some sort of a little package, and anybody that wants to go do this, and we say, you have to have $1 million insurance, or whatever it is. Well, how the hell do I do
But can
that?
everyone do that if they want to have the birthday party or the sewing club and all these other things? And then, do we charge them for electricity use? Do we?
Well, I'm not so,
I can see the road that we're on with the general public, and people do get very creative these days.
yeah.
Well, the electricity use is a different thing. Sorry, Peggy. go ahead.
No, I just had a question. What do other schools do? Because I know, like even up at Eagle Hill, there's birthday parties, there's all kinds of things.
Private.
Okay, but I'm just saying, even other schools, what do they do? I mean, because many towns have nowhere else to go to do things like, I understand where Lee's coming from, because I agree with him, that
That would be
sometimes
like a community center.
people in town want to play volleyball, during the winter and have a little league or something. We've done it. We used to do it in the town hall till we ruined all the tiles, so I hate to eliminate.
Exactly. Stop right there, Peggy,
I know.
because all your tiles got ruined.
I know. I
And then
shouldn't have
we-
said that part.
And then we go try to get our budget passed in town, and we can't get it passed in town. Mr. Nutter even said, and I see that he's not there today, but he said he's on a softball league. Wherever he goes to play a game, he's required to have $1 million insurance policy for his league to play on a field.
We had it for Little League when we used to use the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our organizations that use the facility have this. I mean, that's common. It's just the individuals.
Right.
And I think too, when you talk about equity, I work at the library and we have a public meeting space.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And this was before my time, but I'm told when the John Birch Society wanted to come and use it, it was okay, because how do we justify saying no to them and yes to other groups? So it gets, that's pretty extreme, but it can get really tricky. So I totally
Yeah, it's a
relate
great
to that.
example.
So, all right. So Dick, Dr. Allen, I think we still have to vote on this because, we had asked the administration to come forward with something else if in fact they've come with something that they don't recommend. We actually voted on this, 2 months ago?
December, I think.
Yeah, it's 3 months ago. So the school committee's already voted on it. So this would be either we recommend that, okay, here's I don't.
Do we just take no action because
I
it's?
thought it went to the table. I didn't think we had a final vote.
No, it was voted on.
No, we voted, this is voted on. So this is in place.
But this would
And
have been an update to it, right?
This would be an update.
We voted on everything that's not in red?
correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So if we took a vote tonight and the vote was, we don't want to move forward with it, that's all you report out on is that we don't move forward with it. Because I don't think the votes, whether I vote for it or not, I don't think the votes are here to move forward anyway. Number one. Number two, I think it's a burden, and at this point now, an unreasonable burden to try and task the administration to see if they can find a way to get this in place by contacting any number of insurers. I think they've done their due diligence, and there are other fish to fry, so to speak, that are more important. If something falls into our laps where maybe somebody hears something and says, hey, Joe Smith Insurance wants to offer blah, 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 that's one thing. But to have either Cheryl or Sheila or them attach somebody to say, start making phone calls and contact either local people or big insurers, whomever, I think I don't think that's a good use of Quabbin's time. So I would suggest that, we just vote on this. If we don't bring it forward, we report out, the discussion was made, there are no changes going to be made, and we go forward with it. My point, and it's been, I have never disagreed with Cheryl on the insurance thing, even though she dimes me for bringing an attorney that's voting against it. But my thing is, if that you put yourself out to be, we're for the community and want community use, I can't vote for something. I think it's, I'm not saying it's a lie, but I think it's not the proper way to go out to say, yeah, here's what we want to do, but you got to pony up a lot of money to be able to do it. That's my personal feeling. And Dave's right in a way. I agree. I mean, all the people I played, 30 years around here at all the gyms. All the guys and women I've played with, they're great. They've been good. We sweep up. We do this. We always knew what the timeline was for the custodians. If they said, usually 9:30, but I'd like to get out and do the gym by 8:30 today because we have blah, blah, blah going on. Fine, we'll be done by 8 o'clock. Everybody is so good with that. And I do agree that, all you need is that one person or two people that really aren't going to follow through. And it's unfortunate that would happen. So I can appreciate that too. But to me, it's disingenuous to me to say on one hand, yeah, let everybody in the community use this, but on the other hand, to throw, an impediment up, not for this other stuff. I think all this is great for all of the groups and the leagues and all that good stuff, but just for Dave or somebody who says, yeah, I'd like to use the basketball court, Saturday morning for this group of kids. So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from on this.
Well, we have the earlier policy in place, I believe.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with that policy and using that one at this time?
Yes.
Okay. See ya, Dave.
Then can I make a motion to take no action on the changes that were proposed tonight?
Well, as chair, I was just going to say,
Or just not? All right,
it's a waste of time to have a motion and a second and a vote. We don't have it. We, as a committee, subcommittee, I don't think we agree that this is something that is amenable to both the community, the school committee, and the administration. If we don't have the administration to say yay verily, I don't think we can go ahead with it.
Right.
And I think we all agree on that. You agree also, Mark?
Correct.
Okay, so I think this stays,
okay.
it just doesn't go forward. Now, we are going to have a problem. I think there's absolutely no question. Some group's going to come to us and they're going to be hollering and very upset. And I guess I will tell the committee where we are on this, and people just have to understand that I think that that's most likely to happen at some point. Okay, that's that one. Anything else you want to say on that, Cheryl?
All set, thank you.
Okay. And I see you have a little contract here. So that's nice. All right, course catalog. I assume that this is the high school friends of ours.
Correct.
All right. Yes, we'd love to. So Jason and I are here to collaborate and update you on a proposal that we've worked with several stakeholders on. So I wanted to describe a little bit of the process of how we got here. And then Jason's going to walk you through the technical sort of nitty gritty of what's proposed. So I know that last year there was a lot of discussion at the high school level in terms of, recommended courses and changes and sort of thinking about the world and how it's evolving and changing. We have created what's called an ILT this year, which is the instructional leadership team, which consists of academic coordinators in the sort of department chairs, right? Our ACs, teacher leaders who are not ACs, but of other departments. So basically a group large enough that we meet once, at least once every month. And it's a beginning stage of a collaborative spirit. One piece we did talk about was some of the course potential changes. And so the ILT met in the fall, they went back to their departments and teachers got, basically a look at the course catalog. They recommended, here's certain courses that seem outdated, perhaps, as one piece, and other courses that the need, especially with social emotional learning going up, mental health, so maybe health movement needed at the younger grades. So there's a lot of discussion on various subjects and what sort of makes sense now. With that came a proposal of certain courses and certain adoption of new titles for names. So, let's get rid of maybe just the old fashioned art and let's call it maybe something more interesting and engaging for students. So we've got proposal here for you that consists of some of their collaborative spirits in terms of name changing, in terms of additions in certain areas, in terms of deletions in certain areas. Of course, all of this is dependent on student enrollment and requests. And so obviously all of that's a disclaimer, as we know, but we've got our best foot forward and we'd love to present that to you. That's okay.
We have not done this until now because you needed to do certain negotiations with the teachers' union for some reorganizational aspects. Are you going to talk about that too?
So I'm
Part
going
of this?
Yeah, so today we're simply focusing on the catalog. What happens with the discussions, that's a later conversation. But, if you hear proposed changes that we'd like, if they fit into whatever happens later, that's great. We're not going.
So that has not yet been accomplished, is my understanding.
I'm sorry?
Is that over the
No.
schedule you're thinking?
Yeah.
Not the courses, I think.
Well, the organization of the school is what
So
I thought you were talking about.
we did put this presentation off it was scheduled for last month. And then
Yes.
I asked Dr. Allen to put it on hold a little bit because we are in negotiations with the QRTA. And part of the negotiations is potential for some scheduling changes. But and we have not completed that process yet.
Okay,
That's
that was my
ongoing.
question.
However, the proposed changes that are presented tonight will be effective whether or not the schedule is changed for the high school. So these are really independent of that decision as we continue to dig into it and realize that whether we have a new schedule or not, we would like to have approval of these changes because they can be implemented in either schedule. Correct?
That's correct. The course catalog that we'll propose today and we're asking for permission to move forward with is regardless of whatever the schedule. The courses are the first level of offerings. The next would be the logistics, which is the schedule. Is it semester courses, year-long courses, trimester, all those pieces. This is that first step, which was a long, hard work regardless of if we chose to change the schedule or not. A lot of this was long overdue, actually. So this is that first step of what courses we will offer to the students when they do make course selections moving forward.
Okay, well, I was asking because we had delayed this until now, pending your discussions on reorganization of the academic year. And I think now you're telling me you've moved ahead, and regardless of what those reorganization bring forth, we're going to do these courses in either Model A or Model B,
Correct.
Correct.
okay?
So whether the train goes to Boston and we have a pit stop, or we're going full-blown, I'm sorry, it's just too late, but we're going express, we're going to get to the same goal. We don't know how many stops, that we'll figure out later. But the goal is the same, we're heading to Boston. And so we're going to highlight all of the Boston areas, so that we found really important. There you go. All right, and we are presenting
So
that.
could I just alert the folks in the room who have the paper copy of this presentation? There were a few last minute changes, so the slides that are in your handout may vary slightly, and we'll point those out to you as we go through. But the updated presentation is on the screen.
So as Jason walks you through some of the finer details, I just want you to keep in mind that lots of stakeholders have had their eyes on this piece. We've had a lot of great discussion on this level. And the goal was to have an expansive offering for students to really be mindful of. We have graduates who go on to many different directions, and to give them the soft skills, as we talked about, that are needed, at the same time engaging opportunities for them, and recognizing the world is changing and we whether they like it or not, certain things they need to have, so in terms of health and other areas. So all of that we've kept in mind if we can walk through some of the adjustments and changes.
Sure. So that, with that in mind, that first change we have up here, this first slide is about adjustments and changes, things that exist, but you might not see them in the course catalog if you're going through it or wonder where things went, that are sort of broader brush strokes. And the first one is ninth grade health class. Years ago, we came forward and identified a need that our ninth graders incoming needed a mandatory health class to give them exposure to certain curriculum that we felt were missing, things like nutrition, substance prevention, mental health. Those pieces we felt were important. We still believe they're important, but what we found over the last few years is that the need for that exposure is actually moved earlier. And so the first broad change that we did take that curriculum, we'd break that into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade wellnesses. So we get earlier exposure because we're getting to us and they had already, sadly, many of them had already started vaping or substance use or had already having mental health difficulties. So getting earlier exposure and earlier assistance we thought was important. World language has been long looking to streamline to allow students more access to the higher level courses. We had too many early level courses. There were some introductory courses you'll see deleted later or omitted from the course catalog because if you intro too many levels that we weren't getting to the higher levels.
Do we have Spanish and French?
Spanish, French, and American Sign Language in the department.
No kidding. Any of the kids, how they do with that?
They do exceptionally well. Actually, American Sign Language, you'll see highlighted later, is one of those that is very popular, very well received, but we couldn't get to, 4 and 5, ASL 4s and 5s because we had so many 1s and intros. And so the course demanded the teacher teach more of those. And there's too many courses in the sequence to get to the higher levels. So it's a great example of streamlining so we can offer that higher level to more students and actually allow it to run. And I think it's important to note too, we're talking about course offerings. This is independent of where the students go and what actually runs each year. We're going to offer this and then we go sort of where the students select. And so we are omitting some courses or combining some courses to try and get access to that more rigorous curriculum or the higher level courses without losing any of the foundational material.
Yeah, I assume there's no interest or push to go back to Chinese.
I personally have a great interest in push to that. I do speak Mandarin Chinese, although it is 20 years rusty. I would love to. I think it's a matter of the interest in how we could do that.
Yeah, we had
took 2 years in college.
Yeah.
we had a teacher from, was it Manchuria? What was it? What's that province in the north of China?
Nepal?
No, Northeast is Manchurian Province is one of the states.
Maybe it was Manchuria. We had
Region.
a legate from the Chinese, whatever it is in Boston, come out and talk to us and all. I mean, it was pretty interesting once upon a time.
Very much what was here when I got here and I loved it. So that's a wellness department. You see those changes of sort of getting us to higher levels. Innovative Pathways Department is a relatively new department. It had a lot of work that was going to be done regardless. They are new state requirements. We're making a number of adjustments to meet their new departmental and state goals, as well as the student interests. We are looking to focus on exposure and depth of learning versus sort of like those intros to a whole bunch of different topics. We're really going to give them a worthwhile experience with rigor and meaningful experiences. As part of that, Intro to Innovative Pathways, which was a stopgap that we started when we first received that Innovative Pathways status, we also decided to introduce through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade curriculum and electives. So that way we can, instead of introducing everything in 9th and 10th grade, we can actually do the actual studies is the idea behind that. Music, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Allen.
Yeah, do we still have that thing with steroids?
Yes, we do. The PMI is
Week-long thing?
Yep, that's still available. We have to have enough students to take the PMI course, Precision Measurement Instruments, and then they then qualify to go in and go to a steroids internship
Do
or
we have
workplace
anybody
experience.
taking it? And do we have people going up to steroids at their quote, up to $22 an hour?
This year, we do not. And that's part of the reason you'll see us, the Innovative Pathways is refining the courses offered. So if we offered fewer innovative pathways or put that actually into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, then students will be better prepared to get to PMI and get that workplace experience. And so that's the goal of what you'll see us be doing through the course offerings.
Do we have anybody up there now?
No, not this year.
Do you know what they were getting? Because they very carefully worded, and those of you on the committee at the time remembered, up to $22 an hour we'll pay them. Well, up to can be
Yeah, I actually
cents.
do not know because I know that in some of the positions were all different and some you had to start with exploratory, which was free. And then if you had the PMI and you qualified and had a good job review, you can get certain stations and each of those had different pay costs. And so it was really by student and if they stayed with it. And we got higher pay usually at the second, for a second trimester of experience or second year into it. They did get higher, but I couldn't speak accurately about what the actual dollar amount was.
Okay.
Final major adjustment sort of change is shifting the drama for years, drama classes, drama workshop, drama production was in the English department. We moved that into music as they have run the run point on all of the drama club work and productions that you do see. So you'll see the drama club courses offered in music. So if you're wondering where they went, they're in the music department. And we've also combined, we had 3 separate sort of drama classes that divided the kids into different places. So we combined them into one, which you'll see listed as drama workshop, production, and lighting. And then they can take that multiple times throughout the year if they want to remain involved in drama exclusively. What we ended up having is we have 6 running to all different 3s and we never able to run one. So we sort of making a combination. And then just some clarifications, if you're been here long traditional classes, Symp Wins has led for years confusion. We've now made it symphonic band to clarify which one you're taking.
Well, it's really no difference.
It's no difference, but it's sort of, sometimes people, as Tony was saying, can get attached to certain names. And if you took Symp Wins and your children took Symp Wins, and where's Symp Wins? Well, it's Symp Band. It's really no difference.
Yeah, you have a band and you have an orchestra that has
Correct.
strings. That
Correct.
really is the only difference.
And so for years, we've called it Symp Wins. I don't know why. So now they actually call it Symp Band, and now we have an orchestra, and we still have our chorus, which is now singers, and you'll see that as we go through. Again, some of this is streamlining and taking some of that language. Chorus and singers is a good example. We have chorus, singers, show choir, quab and singers. We're just making quab and singers, instead of splitting us apart. That's sort of a lot of what the cleanup you'll see happening for the course catalog.
We lost one of our maybe 3 music department people last year. Are we trying to get somebody to replace that position?
Yes, we are.
Are you going into hysterics down there?
Very challenging.
Yeah, I think we filled the position twice this year and we're on our 3rd round of interviewing. Just,
No kidding.
yeah. Don't ask Tony about it if you see her.
And I'm really surprised because public school, there's some fields where that's kind of the best position you can get. Art, music, phys ed. So I would have thought, now is this a band director or is it some other? Or it depends on what they bring to the table.
We shifted some of our positions so that we had hired someone at the end of last year who had a certain skill set that really is a nice match to the middle high school. So right now it really is an elementary position that is open. And we also filled some of the instrument lessons with a part-time person who's also really skilled and talented. So we feel really wonderful about the people we have in place. We're just looking for that full-time elementary general music teacher that we haven't been
Who's the
able to
person,
success.
are they woodwinds or brass or strings or whatever on the
One
list?
is strings specifically, and that's what we had been missing. And the other one is, I think actually he's percussion. Is that what Sean is?
Well, clearly we don't have a percussion.
One is,
I think it's background is percussion primarily.
Yeah, but he plays everything and teaches, a variety of things, but
That's different than having that as your skill and passion.
So there aren't many people out there as candidates?
no, we have struggled immensely. So we we filled the positions right before school started at the beginning of the year. We had someone in place until December. And then we filled again and now we need someone for the end of the year.
Where are they going?
We've been Band-Aiding it.
Why are they leaving?
Personal reasons, to be honest with you.
We didn't want them or they didn't want us?
No, their own personal,
Okay.
so. We're still working on it. we're hopeful. We had people who interviewed that are not available till the beginning of next year. If they were, we'd have scooped them up in a heartbeat.
Do we have good people for next year anyway?
We do. Yep.
Right. So the next slide, again, these are broad strokes until we get into the specifics. If you see an omission in the course catalog, the omissions were due to some of these reasons. And I don't have to go through all of them, but I'll point out a few as we discussed. The first and second one, if there's a reduction due to enrollment, so kids are just not interested. And we've seen that pattern over years and years. It's filling up the course catalog and it's not leaving room for newer classes. So if the course is not run in a number of years, we have recommended an omission there. If there's an adjustment that needs to be made because of a new course offering, removal of the outdated courses would help, allowing for new course offerings. Teacher expertise and interest is no longer in a specific course or viable to a learning experience. So for example, astronomy has not been run for a long time. Expertise is not there. Engagement and enrollment for students is not showing viability. So recommending omission and offering something else. So next slide, if we can go into.
And so here I kind of broken out most of the omissions into two categories. The left column is due to enrollment. These are courses that over the last number of years have not had the numbers to run. And kids are going other places, or it interferes and gives a less accurate course selection guide. And on the right-hand column is due to curricular revisions or attempting to push students into certain things rather than split their divisions. So for instance, chemistry honors is an omission because students are going to honors and not to AP chemistry, which we're unable to run. In years past, we did similar things with physics or biology, and by the removal of honors, we then become a robust and sustainable AP program. Biology is our best, most successful example of that, where we had biology honors, they do biology honors instead of doing AP biology, and then we couldn't run AP bio, and now we have a robust section where we're closing in on 2 sections of AP bio on a regular basis. I can go through each of them if you're interested, otherwise it's sort of categorized. There.
What about the Edgenuity? Are all the Edgenuity courses gone, or what's the deal?
Edgenuity as an offering that students can take, as an elect to take on the course selection sheets, has been removed. That comes in a little bit later.
Or we have something else which is online that they can take?
Correct. We have AP VHS, and they also, if there is an interest where students cannot take a class that we offer, or there's just something we don't offer, Edgenuity comes back into the fold, but it's not something that we include in the course catalog, because what we found when we did is that students were signing up for 5 and 6 sections and then just taking whatever, and they were also not meeting with success. So it was all of the worst cases scenarios. So now it's used as a resource to supplement our course offerings or to make that one thing work. And AP VHS offerings have been very effective in filling those gaps too for students as well.
Good.
All right. So the next part is course additions and revisions. So we have some ongoing things that might look like they overlap or are still in the works. Math department, you'll see, including the traditional courses that you've seen through the years. So Algebra 1 in 9th grade, for instance, geometry now in 10th grade. But you'll also see integrated maths 1, 2, 3 listed in there as they are completing, the math department is completing their course, the curriculum self-study at the moment. And so there's a possibility of an adoption of those at a phased in level where we might adopt, if the curriculum self-study goes well and all things being equal, integrated math 1, and then want to see whether the direction would lead and people can plan accordingly. The IP department has a number of changes that you'll see in there based on the program specifics, based on the teacher expertise, based on student interest, and really the departmental goals have shifted this year. They did a lot of work last year and this year on what their innovative pathways department should be, how they meet the state requirements, and you'll see a number of changes that fit there. We've had to adjust course names. And then work-based experiences and additional programmings. We're still planning to offer similar experiences, but they've either been reimagined or broadened, or the names have changed. So we used to only have senior internship. You'll now see is workplace experience. So it's not just potentially senior year and just during the school year. They were broadening that, and Mr. Devine's working on it. Dual enrollment and offsite learning, we're changing and shifting some names to align with the state coding. They have different codings. Dual enrollment is one particular code, and we offer different options. So we're going to adjust and update that to make it aligned with the state coding.
Okay, and as Jason spoke about several of these, you can see the course revisions on the left. Those are the previous course titles. On the right-hand side, you've got the new course titles. Some of these are made simply in a way to engage students a little bit more, offer clarity in what the course exactly is. So as an example, Media 1 and Media 2. It sure sounds a little bit more engaging as a student if you're doing visual marketing in Business 1 and Business 2. It's also more specific. If a student normally chose digital design 1 and 2, that's Photoshop and Illustrator. That's much more specific in terms of what digital design we're talking about. Ceramics 2 is now included in the IB Visual Arts, HL and SL, and so forth. And as you go towards the bottom, as we discussed, the dual enrollment is now dual enrollment / off-campus college course. Senior internship is internship / work-based experience. So some of these are more applicable and robust. Students can take it not just senior year, it's not limiting them. A lot of the titles are now more specific and more expansive and engaging.
And you've added a few IBs too. I saw you had deleted some IBs earlier. You've added some, so that's good. I hate to see our, how many IBs do we have, do you know?
8 off the top, not counting world language, the entire world language department, French and Spanish follow the IB curriculum. I believe off the top of my head, it is 7 or 8 IB courses, and all but one of them is HL and SL.
And AB?
AP?
AB?
Off the top of my head, I think it's still 10. But I have to go back and,
18 between the two.
correct, 18 to 20, give or take.
18 to 20, yeah, that, because I think we were down to maybe 2 or 3 when we started to ramp up.
Yes, several years ago, we were,
That's a good job.
when we just had AP.
I think Jason deserves a coffee for that in the morning because they have to round out those numbers and say, you know.
I'm rounded close.
All right.
And the final slide is just some additions that they didn't qualify somewhere else. They weren't cleaning up. These are new courses or old favorites coming back again. Color theory aligns with the Innovative Pathway Department, and they have a pathway that is visual arts. They needed to kind of pass it up, modify that. So Art 1 is brought back as a foundational course. So all the kids have what they need to go forward. Design Lab is a culminating class in the Innovative Pathways Department. IB Visual Arts, HL and SL are being brought back as the culminating course in the IP department, their arts pathway. You can see they're both the integrated maths 1, 2, 3, and both phase 4 and honors phases. And then new, as we talked about the world language department, we're really going to push for the 4, 5, and 6 in ASL. Not noted here is there was a little bit of a shuffle in the names of the French and Spanish SL higher level, but they're the same courses. They're just named differently because the curriculum changed to, so they just match the names, but they're the same ideas.
Okay.
Now, you said this is a very robust program. Are you going to need another teacher?
American Sign Language. We're not at the place yet where we could need another full teacher. We could potentially have additional sections. It is robust and it is popular, and we want to get to that higher level.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
hopefully we
that's
can
good.
get there.
Yeah.
And then finally, just the overall impact of what you're seeing is streamlining course offerings to ensure a greater likelihood of student enrollment, meaning that the courses they see in the catalog are courses that they can actually get and run on a regular year basis. Adjustment based on the enrollment needs, really trying to push for meaningful, rigorous, higher level courses and elective offerings. Preserving those programming offerings that we've had, we were really intent on making sure that we've offered ROTC and music and for years, and this is a way for us to still preserve those program offerings and really align the course catalog with the vision and mission of the district and the schools and all the departments.
And we did ask the ILT to do a sort of litmus and think about, do your course offerings align with the vision for the graduate and our core values? And so, are we inculcating respect, responsibility, resilience, and innovation? and our students. And if you can check off those boxes, that's something to definitely, that's one of the criteria to think about. And so they've engaged in that work too, to be a little bit more reflective, and we hope this was informative, and if you have any questions for us, we're here to entertain.
Well, a comment. When I go through this whole thing, the most important point I see is overall impact. Increasing opportunity for higher level classes to run. Yep, that's a good goal. That's something to embrace. Absolutely. Okay, do we have any questions on this?
Just thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Okay, do we have a motion then?
I move to accept the course,
This.
the course offering catalog.
Okay, second. Okay, Peggy, second. All right. All in favor? Okay. Done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have,
Thank you.
anybody have anything else?
Yet.
Yet, yeah. What's your, say it again in German?
Russian, huh?
9.
Okay, so I guess that's it till October, unless you come up with anything else, right?
Okay, yes,
I think
sir.
that's cool.
Hot damn. Okay, we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.